I'm on a date tonight, so I'll have to just looking good. No, I'll just do it in front of her, shouldn't I?
Going! He's kept going! He's scored! Oh, Stockport pressure. And the header superb goal! Johnny did it! Lisa! Rose tries to get the ball in. Wilkinson! It's a 5-star performance from Stockport County.
All right, we got a small house, but we got a big bloody heart, I tell you.
Hello, you. Good morning, and welcome to the Showpiece 50th episode of SK3 TV. A young, sexy mistress of a podcast doing all the things that your wife just won't do anymore. Yes, it's the show for the thinking county fan, as long as what the county fan is thinking is, do you know what? I feel really secure in myself, and I want a podcast that does similar. We are here with our second Breakfast Club special. Just because we thought, well, why not? Might as well. It's Sunday, we've got nothing to do. Talking all about the Leyton Orient game yesterday and looking ahead to Wednesday. And joining us, of course, most importantly, the already Wembley-bound Hannah. Hello.
Hello, Wembley! I am actually at Wembley. So through that window there, I was like when I checked in, I was really concerned that I was going to have a coveted Wembley Arch view. Fortunately, they don't. They've done me with a view of Wembley Arena, which is ugly as anything, but actually much better. I can see like the second I step out of the hotel, I can see the arch in front of me, and it's the FA Trophy later on, which I didn't realise. So, and bearing in mind, the hotel that I'm staying at last night was £138. In 2 weeks to stay here, it's the cheapest rate is £720, and that's non-refundable. So I don't necessarily recommend it as a potential.
It's the non-refundable. Just
I know, right? There is a refundable rate. I think it's like £820, so a relative bargain. But for anyone getting ahead of themselves, I'd suggest probably there's a Premier Inn like around the corner. Maybe that one would be a bit better. Yeah, but I assume it's because when I booked it, I assumed that there was nothing on at Wembley like yesterday or tomorrow because it was so reasonable. Because I'm here for work for the next couple of days, and it was expensive the next couple of nights. But someone else is paying for it, so it's not my concern. So I'm at Wembley. It was really weird walking down Olympic Way yesterday. So I got the train in and then came over here to dump my bags and then went back to Orient. I was walking down Olympic Way at, I don't know what time it would have been, like 9 o'clock-ish, and it was dead. I've never seen it like that. And it was just really weird. And I felt physically sick. Like bad things happen here. And that was very much. So I don't really want to leave the hotel now. I'm just going to stay here until I have to leave. Yeah. But yeah, it was an eventful Saturday, but a lovely sunny Saturday. Lots to talk about.
Indeed, lots to talk about, which we will do after the admin. We are, of course, proudly sponsored by Blackbird Kitchen on the pans at the Fantastic Gorilla Manchester and also on the grills at Impossible Manchester. Other admin, what have we got?
Definitely like and subscribe. That comes the standard. I can't think of anything else, quite honestly. Make sure you've got your tickets to Wednesday. You've got them on your phone. You've got them printed out. However, your kind of ticket preference goes.
Speaking of hotels, SMB has said booked my hotel in Watford ready for Wembley last October. Last time I stayed in a hotel in Watford.
I respect the conference.
It's
confidence.
Good, yeah.
Confidence.
The confidence. The confidence. Last time I stayed in a hotel in Watford was when I went to the Harry Potter thing.
I was going to say, if it all goes to shit, that's an obvious replacement.
It's a
I
good point.
stayed in a village hotel in Watford. They always have nice swimming pools, so that's something else that SMB can do.
We have a village hotel right down here in Cheadle.
Mm.
That's good. But the one I stayed in Watford might have been the worst hotel in the. It was like I was walking like through the corridors and you could hear the noises coming from every room, and all I could think of was in years to come when there's a documentary about like a terror attack, this'll be the hotel where they planned the attack. It was horrible. It was just the most bleak thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, but have a lovely time in Watford. S&B, regardless.
Which is the worst sentence ever. It's like, how do you do that? With the exception of Harry Potter experience, like how do you have a nice time in Watford? I mean, no manager has had a nice time in Watford, so why should anybody else? Talking of having a nice time in the London and Greater London area, we should get on to the football, which we will do after this.
Can I just say, actually, I'd like to retract my statement about SMB's confidence. It was just from an abundance of sensibleness. It was half the price that it is now, and it is refundable. I still would never, because, superstitions are abound at the moment in my world, but it's not as bad as it first sounded.
I think we should.
They won't have to go to Harry Potter.
I think we should all go to. I mean, judging by how Wembley went last time, I'd rather have gone to Harry Potter. I think.
Yeah. Sunstroke and the depression, the post-Wembley depression. Because we did. Do you remember standing at Wealdstone afterwards, doing things to be cheerful about? Like, it's not that bad. And one of them was Steve Ellis gets a summer off.
Yes, that was the main thing. And he loved that summer off because he came back all freshened up and reinvigorated after that. So it was worth it in the end. It was fine. So yeah, there was a small matter of a game yesterday at the ungodly kickoff time of 12.
It was rough. My alarm was at 5:45 yesterday.
That's just sick. See, I assumed you were staying over from the Friday night. So when you came into the group saying, "Oh, where's my alarm?" I was like, "What? That's horrible."
Yeah, because I'm down till Tuesday. I didn't really want to be here any longer than necessary. But yeah, 5:45, 6:41 train, which I booked because it was loads cheaper, in all honesty. But it was before Starbucks opened. I didn't see any other kind of hardened Stockport County fans at Stockport Station, but there may well have been. They might have been incognito.
Yeah.
And no central line, so that made getting across across to Leyton Orient, Brisbane Road, more fun than normal. But
why do you do these things?
It worked out all right. I got like 2 tubes and a bus, and Charlotte and I got to sit. Right. So yesterday I spent the day. Have you seen the film Wimbledon?
Yes.
Right.
Course, yeah.
So Kirsten Dunst wakes up in the morning, and she's like, it's one of those mornings where everything goes wrong, and it's things like the toast burning and the alarm not going off, and it's like, and then she goes on to lose in, I don't know, this is semi-final or the final of Wimbledon. And yesterday was a little bit like the reverse of that. So Starbucks was closed, but Costa was open, so that was good. Like the train was really quiet, so we could get a table. That was good. Managed to get in, drop my bags at the hotel, and they were all fine. And let me keep my room for because anyway, 2 separate reservations. And then when we got to Walthamstow Central, we got on the double-decker bus and we went upstairs and we could sit at the front. It was like we could drive the bus. I was like, this is the biggest omen. And then I forgot that Charlotte isn't like 3 anymore. But it was fun.
I mean, there was almost a point at which you must have wished that you'd just stayed on that bus, because that's
Well,
certainly a point in the game where that would have been the case for me if I was.
yeah, the driver was a little bit heavy-handed with the steering though, and it was also like a sauna because of all the glass.
The glass and the
Weather events, yeah. And Marshall and I had a chat before the game. So I stood by the park doing my ticket collection role, and he was like, "Should we meet afterwards?" And I'm thinking, "Don't know.
I'll let you know.
I don't know. Let's see." Like I was like, I'm just gonna be honest. Maybe we'll see what kind of mood one of us is in after the game. And at half time, I was like, "I'm never meeting that man again."
He's paid the rest of
As
these
I
off.
was walking out, I got a text from him saying, "That seems fair." It's like, yeah. Okay.
I mean, fair is the key word here, because we'll get onto the various decisions
Mhm.
shortly. But I thought it was a really good game of football.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, really good.
All of my non-county friends that were watching the game as neutrals, I just after the Charlie Kelman goal, my phone started going bonkers, and it was a Blackpool fan, a Wrexham fan. Hi Matt, I know Matt listens. Matt, a Villa fan, and someone who doesn't normally watch football, all saying, "You should hear what they're saying about that goal on the."
See,
Yeah,
I
so
love it when that happens. When there's
as a
like
neutral, people really enjoy
when
it.
something that goes beyond just our fan base. The closest thing I can think of is when England lost the Euros final, not the last one, but the one in 2021, and there was a point where Saka ran down the right-hand side and Chiellini just pulled his shirt and pulled him down. And that's when you can tell the non-football
Yeah.
fans, because they were all like, "Oh, well, he should be sent off and banned for that." It's like, no, that's just a standard
Yeah,
foul. That's nothing. It was the same yesterday.
The tipping point yesterday, you know it's bad when Specsavers are tweeting about a decision that's been given against you. That was the tipping point for me.
When we're at the centre of big brand social media, that's when you know you've arrived. And I wish it were any other way. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it, but refereeing is what it is. I watched Notts County and Wimbledon last night, and obviously they've had this big decision given against them with Jatta. He was sent off in like the 90th minute for a yellow, probably. But his reaction subsequently actually validated that he should have been sent off, but then he probably wouldn't have reacted in that manner if he hadn't been sent off. Does that make sense? It's all kind of, you can say, "Oh yeah, he should have been sent off twice for his reaction after the decision." But if it had been a yellow, he wouldn't have reacted as he did. So I don't know where they stand on that, because the referee gave the decision for the tackle rather than his subsequent reaction. So it'd be interesting, because he's there, like Charlie Kelman. Jatta is their highest scorer. He is one of the highest scorers in the league, and they're going into the next leg as it stands with a player down.
And it makes you even more, as if I wasn't already glad to have Kyle Wootton, it makes you even more glad, because what kicked it off was Jatta receiving the treatment that he received all game, that Wootton receives all game, every game. But Jatta lost it, and Wootton doesn't. So
he does not. Incredibly.
That was the difference.
Yeah.
On to the small matter of yesterday's game then.
Yeah.
So first 10 minutes or so quickly did away with any nerves. I was like, we acquitted ourselves well, we looked settled, we looked like we knew what we were doing, we looked like a confident team who were securing ourselves. I just thought, yeah, this is all going to be all right. I was so happy, and then I thought, the only thing that's going to take this happiness away from me now is going to be like an act of God or something. An act of God, or someone just absolutely shitting the bed. Lo and behold, what happened?
Do you know, I was going to say it wasn't an act of God, it was an act of, and then I've got, is he called Ben Speedy?
Ben Speedy, yeah.
Speedy, yeah, I remember that from like the post, but I don't think I've seen his name mentioned. Normally,
I don't think you will again.
It's
until
all
he
over.
does the championship playoff final in a couple of weeks.
Oh God. Yeah, it felt, yeah, you're absolutely, I agree completely. It felt like it kind of went against the trend of play in terms of possession. And I think, well, it wasn't deserved. Charlie Kelman is an absolute menace. You can see why he had the golden boot for the season. He is everywhere, but they play very strategically as well. So, and this is where, I mean, Fev's won Sky Sports Man of the Match. I think it's entirely deserved, because what he did was so impressive in that he was getting these long balls from Ollie Norwood to the right wing, and they had two players on him. So it was Williams and someone else, I don't know who it was. And they were sandwiching him. And each time he was losing the ball, and instead of changing things up, instead of doing things differently, they kept doing the same thing. And Fev's learnt and kind of adapted to, he was running through them, he was running around them. And to me, that kind of resilience and digging down was one of the most impressive things in that game yesterday. And I mean, he's 21, isn't he? He's so young. And I know that, a lot of the players that we signed in the summer have taken a while to bed in, but I'm so excited to see how his kind of playing style and career evolves going into next season.
Yeah, he's such an exciting player. And I mean, the best thing about him for me is the fact he can use both feet. Like, it still blows my mind watching. I watched a bit of Match of the Day last night, and the commentator was talking about one of the players and said, "Oh, it's on his wrong foot." It's like, no, but when you're getting paid that much money to play football, you should not have a wrong foot. I'm just not having it.
The Ethan Pye thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, but yeah, Fev's was absolutely fantastic. And then I was convinced that if a goal was going to come, it was going to be through him. But once again, it was an act of Ben Speed. So we'll dig down into this.
Okay,
Because
I'm ready.
I think a lot of people didn't get to see Dave Challoner's Sky interview.
I don't think I have, but I have. I was in the pub afterwards with Stockport County's head of media, so I've had it paraphrased to me, but not actually seen it. So
Essentially, the assumption was, watching like in real time, was that the officials had missed the flick on from Beckles. That was the assumption. That's the point where you think, okay, right, you can see how it's been given, even though it's a ridiculous decision and anyone could see that flick on. That's fair. And then for Dave, massive credit to Dave Challoner at half time, by the way, for not completely losing it. And he was complimented for that on Sky Sports as well.
Because I'd sent a message to the group saying, oh, there's a story on Sky Sports News saying that, the officials have been accosted in the tunnel and, all of this. And you said, no, it was not Mr. Challoner. I was going to say it was not Dave, but that would be inaccurate.
Yeah, Dave Conlon was certainly given a bit more than Dave Challoner. Dave Challoner was more bewildered than anything else. So from the interview, Dave Challoner has said that the officials confirmed to him that they saw the flick on, but the linesman thought Kelman was being played on, which is genuinely terrifying. Really scary.
I mean, I can kind of understand the linesman not seeing it from his position, but the referee absolutely should have done. And ultimately, I think I talked about this a few weeks ago. When we went to Stockport Town, we talked to the referee afterwards, and he kind of talked about one of the decisions he'd made and talked about, how the refereeing, the what do they call them? Kind of collectively, the refereeing team are very much a team, and they've all got different perceptions. They've all got different views of things based on position, but one doesn't necessarily cancel each other out. It should be, something that they've kind of decided on together, but ultimately your referee should be able to pull rank, especially in something like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Dave said, it's the most. I can't remember what the term was exactly, but like the most important game in his managerial career. Like these are people's lives that you're dicking about with, and it's just it's the nature of it. We'll get an apology letter on Monday. In fairness, Orient will probably get an apology letter for the penalty that wasn't given for them in the second half.
Yeah.
But Charlie Kelman definitely scored that goal. The penalty might have been saved. So, does it even out? And there was loads of chat last night saying, we should have VAR. We should have VAR in lower leagues, or we should have VAR for games at this level and this importance. But, for 11 months of the year, the vast majority of lower league fans are very much, we hate VAR, it's ruining the sports. We never want it in the lower leagues. Can't have it both ways.
Yeah, that's it. That's where I am. I can't quite work out what side, because I kind of like the grittiness of the lower leagues not having it. That's kind of a big selling. It's a big selling point for a lot of people. That's the reason crowds, not just ours, but in the Football League and non-league as a whole, have gone up, because people, ever since the Super League thing and lockdown and the introduction of VAR, people have got to the point now where they want something more similar to the football they grew up watching, and that's why. So if you do, I wouldn't want it bringing in, to be honest. I don't want anyone to take away that feeling of getting to go ape shit after a goal.
Yeah, and then having to wait. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so weird.
See, it's happening. I nearly said we would. They have it at Wembley's in the playoff final, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
So that's something to look forward to.
Just to go back to that, I have been fine. I've been so calm about all of this. And then about 5 to 3, no, at 12, which doesn't have the same ring to it, my legs started wobbling a bit and my lip was wobbling and I was suddenly very not okay. And I was less okay when we equalised, weirdly. Like Charlotte was jumping up and down, and I was just stood there, like lip going, thought I was going to cry. But it was a really weird celebration, I think, after the Pelman shenanigans.
Yeah.
But now I'm fine again. It was just in that moment, and it properly hit me.
God knows what state you're going to be in on Wednesday night.
I've like, just so everyone knows, I've taken one for the team, put my hand in my pocket. I will be in hospitality on Wednesday because we have never lost when I have been in there. So even if we lose, at least I've done everything.
You'll be in hospitality betting on Leyton Orient.
I will, yeah, 100%. I missed out on such a good bet yesterday. Would have paid for hospitality, ironically, but I didn't want to do anything that might cancel out the betting on Orient. So it was Charlie Kelman to score first and a draw, and it was like 100 and something to 1. Absolutely ridiculous odds. It was earlier in the week. Yeah, never mind. It's fine. I'm fine. I lost a £5. It's good.
Missed out there. So on the Sky coverage, we had Anthony Sarcevic in the studio as well, with Joby McAnuff and Gareth Ainsworth. That was the crew. On Gareth Ainsworth on his birthday as well. He got presented with a cake at the end of the show.
Good for him.
I like him, Gareth Ainsworth.
I remember Charlie doing a lot of it last season when I was at Crew, and Donny, he was there doing the punditry, and Sars was on the train with, I don't know whether he was with our players, but he was certainly on the same train, because Charlotte, as she got off, she was walking down the platform and she heard someone singing da, 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 Tony's or whatever it was they were doing, and he was just, she said she turned and he was just there, and she's like, oh, so that's nice. And some mini hand tweeting and Adam LaFondra and
Liam Dickinson as well, I noticed last night. he was out at a petting zoo or something and keeping an eye on that. Was it a petting zoo? Something wholesome and family related
Oh.
anyway. But yeah, at half time, the Sky coverage was very weird. It did feel skewed towards Orient.
Oh, really?
I don't know if maybe it's a London thing. I don't know if maybe because that's where the studio is in London and stuff, so it's easier to.
So I talked to a lot of Orient fans yesterday after the game and talked to Marshall, and they are very much as I was, and as I said to Marshall, if not us, then them, and they are very much if not us, then you, and they have cut that. Marshall talks about this from the beginning of the season. We're very similar teams, very similar backgrounds, similar ascension from National League up to where we are. Obviously, they did it a season before, but sensible owners who and they feel the same kind of antipathy towards Wrexham's and Birmingham's, and so it may be that we are, given our budget, there's no kind of getting around that. We are the richer, kind of more powerful team, and we finished third. Orient are the kind of underdog in this. They sneaked into the playoffs at the last minute, had a horrible start to the season, and there's no kind of fairy tale story apart from the fact that they've got two impeccable loan players that they won't be able to rely on next season. So I wonder whether that might have played into it as well, that suddenly we're not the underdog, which is, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Well, I put it in the episode description, Monday's episode we did with Marshall. When I put the podcast up, in the episode description, I described it as like the most wholesome playoff semi-final ever, because that's how it's just wholesome playoffs all around at the moment. Because the final against Carlisle a couple of years ago, everyone came away from that like, "Well done, mate. Well done, lads. All the best." And now it's happening again. It's just. Yeah, it's sort of nice in a way, I suppose. It's very unsettling, but
I think from their point of view that there was absolutely no one defending the decision. No one supporting Speedy's decision in awarding that goal. They were very much, absolutely shouldn't have stood. The difference between, though, the Orient fans, who were very kind of humble about it. And then, I think you've seen it, the Charlie Kellman, Omar Beckles interview, where they're like, refs make mistakes, you take your chances. Beckles is saying, 100% take the assist. It just came across as almost goady. And I think that will play into our hands on Wednesday. I know. Dave Challoner will not be playing that video
Thank you.
in the pre-match thing, but I'm sure that they will watch it and they will be riled up by it, because that for me was, you can be a bit humble about it. You have that conversation with the interviewer and you say, you know what, it does look like I was offside. Of course, I'm not going to appeal it. Decisions go both ways. It all evens up over the season. It swings and roundabouts. You throw in the platitudes, and you don't behave like that. That was the bit for me that didn't quite sit right.
I mean, you mentioned it evening itself up over the season. If that's the case, I mean, I was going to say if that's the case, then Wednesday is going to be crazy. But it almost evened itself up in the second half. And the thing that was most pleasing for me about how we reacted to their first goal, we saw it with Jetta playing for Notts County last night. There was one slight decision he didn't get his own way, and he absolutely lost it. We had a massive decision not go our way, and we just kept on at it. I was on GMR last night, and they said the same thing. I was like, the way that the players reacted was absolutely fantastic. Just got on with it. Even Challoner had to go at the fourth official, but he wasn't ranting and raving.
No. And Stuart Maynard did the same as well. And he, was clearly incensed. But all that ends up happening, if you can get past that kind of red mist in the moment, all that ends up happening is you're playing your next leg with your manager in the stands, and
Exactly.
like
Orient would have been fine. They do that anyway. So.
Yeah, that's true. They're used to it. In fact, isn't there
Speaking of-
something about they're better when he's in the stands or something? There was some weird. Marshall said that their away record is better because like last night I was like, well, it's reset now. We've had a win, a lose, and a draw across the 3 games, so everything is reset. They come to Edgley Park on Wednesday, and he said, oh, well, we're better away. I was like, well, we're better at home. And see what happens.
I mean, 28 points from the last possible 30 at home for us. They're very good away from home. It's like the unstoppable force against the immovable object, which is something I've always wanted to say on a podcast.
Yeah.
And
and we've got exactly the same form now over 11 games. So they had in their last 10 before yesterday, they had one win and one draw, 1 loss and 1 draw. The rest wins, exactly the same as us.
Yep.
And now a draw to bookend it. So it's all very even, except we've got Jack Diamond back.
Well, Martin Eldham has just commented, which is what I was just about to get onto, actually. Their assistant was sent off in the last game of the season for preventing a quick throw-in from the opposition.
Oh.
But his touchline ban was wiped out straight away. So why is it one? It's another case of the rules not being right. Because
did they appeal and were successful?
No appeal. It was just that the ban doesn't carry into the playoffs, but we've had to do without Jack Diamond.
How weird.
Yeah. Just no.
I'll ask Marshall to see if he knows. Although he's not technically an owner anymore, so I don't think he gets quite as much insight as he might know. And we saw Lewis Bate and Callum Camps. So Lewis Bate, I think I was kind of expecting. I actually put him in to start on Fan Hub, but I didn't expect to see Callum Camps. They've kept that really quiet, or at least as far as I was aware, anyway.
Even the Sky commentators said he wasn't meant to be back at all for the playoffs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were surprised as well. It's so there's once again we had this discussion on Monday, like what will the lineup be for Saturday's game, and we're having that discussion all over again. But this time it's coming off the back of Norwood being absolutely fantastic over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
But also the best performance yet that we've seen from the SK3 TV sponsored away Owen Moxon. He rattled the bar in the first half.
Oh my goodness!
One of the best hit shots I've ever seen.
Yeah, and that could have been our social media time.
That would have been it. That would have been viral.
Yeah, it would have. He was brilliant. The only thing I would say is that he did look like he was tiring. I maybe would have taken him off just a little bit sooner. But we did. The interesting thing as well yesterday was that we didn't see the half-time substitutions. So I wonder whether that was, that they were, in my head, they were all so incensed in the changing room that it was no, I'm going to use it and I'm going to send them back out because they're playing brilliantly. They've not really done anything wrong. This is the group of lads that we need. And then the later substitutions were down to tiredness, and Brad Hills, it was, they were there. I don't think there's anyone yesterday that I can think of that I would say, maybe drop them for having jigger.
It's very telling that the first thing Challinor said in his Sky interview post-match was how proud he was of the players. That was the first thing that he said, and there's not. You can see why. I mean, we mentioned the SK3 TV sponsored away Owen Moxon being, but then tiring, which is not surprising because he was absolutely everywhere. It just didn't stop. So I'm not. Richie Wellens mentioned in his interview afterwards that he was a bit critical of himself because he left it a bit too late for his subs. He thinks he should have done them 5 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
And that may have been the case with us, but at the same time we were 2-1 up. Do you
I would agree with Wellens, only on the grounds that they were so good for like the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it potentially, if he'd have done that sooner, then we might have been in a different situation. But they, you know, they got the penalty.
Well, go on.
No, I was just going to have a moment of Corrier appreciation and
Superb
an
again.
update on. So the lads that were at Wickham that it transpired we talked about last week, were his mates, were there again. They were just in front of me. The lad that was in the United tracksuit last week had a very fetching pink county shirt on, so that's clearly been sorted. As I think Corey had said on social media.
And now deleted social media post.
Do you know what? Like, in your life, you need mates like them. They were so, like, I used the word cute last night, which is, you know, probably not something that they would love to hear, you know, strapping young men, but they were so cute in their kind of total love and support for their friends. And, you know, whenever we were singing the Super Coriadai and Goal song, they'd be like singing along and like on the chairs, but they were recording it all, like recording the crowd. Oh, it was just bloody lovely. They were so proud of him. And I know that the players talk a lot about, you know, the support of their family and their friends. Yeah. And like Will Collar on BBC on Manchester was talking about, you know, the stresses and strains on players at this time of year. And that applies less to Corrier, but, you know, people like Will Collar, they're playing for their careers essentially. Yeah. And you need a really strong unit of people around you. Corey's expecting his first baby in a few weeks. And yeah, they were just brilliant. The biggest kind of gang of supporters and I really hope that they're coming on Wednesday, and that, you know, if there is another game, that they can get London based.
This is all too wholesome, Hannah. All these apology letters. We've had more letters than Jimmy Savile. Right, wholesome, done. Carry on. Second half. So clear penalty for us.
Yeah.
No arguments there. I mean,
no.
The commentators on Sky were baffled by why he chose to put his hand up in front of Fraser Horsfall's face as he's hitting the ball.
Do you know what? I'd love to talk to professional footballers about this, but I think sometimes it must just be like almost involuntary. Like, because you see more and more players now in the box, like literally, like looking like little regal princes, like clutching their hands together. And I think I'd need to do that as well, because, you know, a bird flies past me and I'm like, oh God. But, you know, this is their job. Yeah, it was confusing.
Yes, very much so. So no arguments with that. A fantastic penalty from Ollie Norwood, which I'm assuming you didn't see in real time.
Never. I watched it back last night and I was like, oh, that was a nice penalty. Yeah, I don't watch them. But do you know what? Funnily enough, I was very definitely not the only one. So I remember at Notts County turning around and seeing the backs of other people's heads. And last week, I've just been kind of staring, like, and I quite like it as well. Normally, I like watching people's faces and watching you know, you see lots of phones, life behind the screen. But you see kind of people's expectations and, you know, the kind of emotional journey that they're going through. But yesterday I closed my eyes. I couldn't. I was so in my little bubble. Dan's going to have to just treat me with kid gloves on Wednesday night, I think.
It's going that way, and especially when we have the inevitable penalty shootout, and then of course,
oh God, I can't.
It's like all season we've been when we'd have a bad result earlier in the season. I know we've been like top 6 or there or thereabouts pretty much for the vast majority of the season. It's always been a criticism that when we go behind, we don't tend to come back into games. And all of a sudden, over the last month,
I
we've
know.
done nothing but go behind, and that is
We're quite good
so
at it.
pleasing at this
Yeah.
time of year. It's absolutely amazing. And as soon as we got that equaliser, you could see there was this determination to go and get another. And that second goal and an assist for Ollie Norwood, across from Fevs to win the penalty in the first place. And at that point, the lead was well deserved. We should have had another penalty, I would say.
Yeah. The horseful. Again, horseful.
Yeah, but at the same time, they should have had a penalty.
Yeah.
So, in
Yeah.
terms of it even itself out, I think we're mostly there. I do fear
Or is
for
that?
Benjamin Speedy's prospects, though.
Yeah, because I think it ended up being so high profile, which in a normal league game, like the Wrexham one was more high profile because it was Wrexham. But generally, those kind of decisions, they have an impact on the immediate fan base, and maybe other clubs in the league, the fan bases will notice. But with that, it became much more magnified because of the arena and context that it took place in.
An interesting point raised by a talking point raised by Phil Lloyd in the live chat. Thank you, Phil. Was there a case for a red card for a penalty? Punched the ball just in front of Horsfall's head. Is that denial of a goal score? I can't bring myself to say DOGO. I just can't do it. Can't do it.
When I saw it pop up, I'm sat here going, denial of goal, and then it was the S, which is bloody
goal scoring is one word. It's DOGO. It's DOGO. Surely, if goal scoring is one word. I don't think it was, because it looked like it was being headed across goal rather than towards goal. So for that reason, I'd say not a penalty. And we just couldn't hold on. That was the thing.
No.
But it is, Ian Dowden, it is not the same team of referees on Wednesday. I mean,
if
it originally was meant to be, then it fucking would have been the case now.
Do you know what? Weirdly, didn't we have? I've just as Ian's just said that, I've just thought, didn't we have a really shit referee in the first leg against Salford?
We did.
2 years ago, and we had the same conversations about all of that, and one of the things that I heard on, I think it was on social media, but it wasn't by a County and Orient fan, was about the level of pressure that will be on the refereeing team on Wednesday, kind of going into it with that lens of quite a few poor decisions. But you know what? Going back to the going behind, I after the first goal, I can't remember which of the non-county away fans it was that I mentioned it to, but it was almost like we needed to go down for that impetus, and that it's been how it's been. And when I talked to Lincoln podcast, the Stacey West Lincoln podcast a few weeks ago, I was like, right, what's going to happen is you're going to score first, you'll score early, and then we'll equalize and we'll have substitutions, and the second half will be completely different. Again, I'd much rather have an easy life and be 4-0 up 25 minutes in.
Oh, speak for yourself.
Shut up. There is no, yes, jeopardy, but honestly, Nicholas.
Oh, Sunday name on a Sunday.
It is wonderful. Sunday.
Yeah, it's time for it. I'll get that in church when I go shortly, because I'm definitely a church goer. Yeah, their penalty. Do we think that was a penalty? There didn't seem to be much argument. I know it was. It certainly wasn't mentioned by Challoner in his interview.
No, I think fair. Yeah, of all the controversial refereeing decisions on Saturday, no issue with that.
Yeah,
quite low down, quite low down the list.
Yeah, on a normal day, we'd still be whinging about that, but this was no normal day.
Oh God, yesterday was not normal. Not normal.
But all round, I'd say a net positive. It goes back into the thing again of draw your away games and win your home games, and If we
Yeah.
want to avoid you not getting your money's worth because you will not see a large portion of the game, if you want to avoid a penalty shootout, then
God.
we do need to win on. And we talked before about our home form, and normally that'd. I mean, I'm feeling pretty confident anyway. But normally the home form, you'd look at that and think, yeah, great. But then you look at Leyton Orient's form at Edgeley Park, and where they've just basically annihilated us on multiple occasions, and you think, oh,
Right.
I don't like this.
The Orient fans had a really nice chant that started in the ground and continued into the pub we were in. That was, "We always win at Edgeley Park."
Oh, no. Why the Nicky Mansfield song? God. Everything's recycled nowadays. God, there's nothing
Yeah,
new.
no originality. Yeah, so I mean, they're going to have. I think I can't remember how they said 1,025 has been their allocation. So a few fewer than we had yesterday.
Yeah.
And I mean, the away atmosphere was brilliant. And even when, sometimes we've seen this, when we go behind and it's a bit controversial, we lose our heads more than the players do.
Yeah.
And there didn't seem to be that yesterday. I sent you the video, the bloke in the flat in the corner with the flag. It was great. It felt like, I don't know, it felt like a really kind of important game, and we do well as a fan base in the sunshine. Exeter, at Blackpool yesterday, which is really shit for a fan base from Manchester. Stockport, you know what I mean? Like, you talk about rain in Manchester. Oh God, I'm going to get cancelled.
Well, I'm going to be immediately on YouTube Studio after this is finished, cutting that bit
out. Yeah. Please do.
But that takes us.
It's because I talked to so many people who are not from the area. So they'll say, like you say, where are you from? And you say Manchester, just because if you're in India or in a taxi in Bangalore, then they've not heard of Stockport.
Yes, yeah, famously, yeah. They don't have especially added to that the whole Southport Stockport confusion from last summer that still rumbles on to this day. Yeah, it's so weird. It's very rare that I retweet stuff, really, like big appeals and stuff. But there was an appeal last night that I retweeted, which was when we're singing the scarf on Wednesday, that it's wore it proudly round my neck. And amazingly, there's people saying it doesn't matter. It matters.
I notice it more at aways, only because I think at home most of the pop side sings proudly, so I don't notice it as much. I think it's maybe a bit of maybe a generational thing, or maybe there are fewer newcomers. God, I hate that term. I don't discriminate against newcomers. I'd like to point that out. You're very welcome.
No, we discriminate against everyone.
We hate everyone. Yeah. So, so Cam thinks I'm wrong. I thought I've just found a cupboard down here. Just banged it with my foot. Cam thinks that it's the mini bar. Cam thinks that I'm wrong. I thought it said the scarf, not proudly, in the mural that's in the Cheadlands. But like I say, I might be wrong.
I'll check this out on.
Check it out. We'll start a petition. If not, I'll get my Cricut. We can put some white vinyl over it, and then I'll cut some blue letters, and we can update it. No one will mind. It's fine.
Sorted. It needs doing it. And also, while we're singing it, can we slow it down? It doesn't need to be a race to the finish. Martin Ellen, I respectfully disagree. It's what it is. It's like, have you seen Yesterday? The Beatles-ish film.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the by now standard Ed Sheeran cameo in a film that's it was already a shit film, and then Ed Sheeran popped up and it really took me out of it. But where he's pretending he's wrote Hey Jude, and Ed
Yeah.
Sheeran says, no, how about Hey Dude? And it's the most I've ever, well, it's not the most I've ever cringed in my life, as you know from our chat last night, but genuinely, it's a similar thing. It's a similar thing there. It's like, and
Yeah.
I think it was Phil Lloyd on Twitter who made the point. It's like, if you went to Anfield and sang "You'll Never Stroll Alone" or whatever, like, how would that go down? It's like, no, it's the whole point of the song is that the
I wonder
scarf
how it
doesn't come to the
happened,
end.
like what the genesis is of this change.
I don't know. Maybe we'll do a
But
deep
you
dive
know,
in the summer.
until a few years ago, I sang "They Call Us White and Blue," so I'm probably not the best person to be very judgmental on there.
I still hear people sing that to this day, and also linked into that, the tifo that we had I think it was before the Hartlepool game a couple of years ago, on the last day of the season. It said, "and the colours," but colours had an apostrophe.
Right. Yeah.
upsets
So
me. I don't
even if
think
you
that's right.
defended it as the colour is, it's plural. So no.
Yes. Yeah. So it's and the yeah.
Can we make
Yeah.
sure that the tifo on Wednesday is grammatically correct? Dan, if you want to send it to me for proofreading, I'll be more than happy. It will stop me. But do you know what? Actually, don't. Let it be grammatically incorrect. And then that's the thing that I can complain about if we lose.
Good. We can just do an hour on that
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's completely fair. Yeah.
I don't want to proofread it, Dan. You're good. Don't worry.
I'm fully on board. I thought a worst or best first. I want to talk worst and best case scenarios on Wednesday night, because it's almost like a sort of preemptive therapy, so that if these things do happen, we'll know how to react, because we'll be prepared, because we've mentioned them here.
No, I bury my feelings deep.
Yeah,
Deep.
Same.
And
yeah.
so
Everyone I've ever loved has told me that.
let's not, air our dirty laundry feelings early.
Okay, fine.
No, go on. Right, I'm ready. Best and worst scenarios. Hit me.
I mean, as an absolute high function, well, I say high functioning, as a medium functioning sociopath, it's a must that we go a goal down for me.
Well, now, yeah.
It's absolutely vital that we go a goal down on Wednesday. Not
Do
even
you know
without
what,
our
though?
run of coming back.
I could bet on Charlie Kelman to score first, like as a single bet.
And not only that, he will score.
It might not happen then.
He'll score the opener, but he'll be so offside that he stood in the courtyard. That's what happened. And he'll bend the ball round the Cheadle end into the.
And then he'll go giving it to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll go and sell it to the officials like he did yesterday. Yeah, that's what's happening.
I used to like him. Dick.
Didn't realise it was QPR. He was on low.
Yeah.
I did notice. Because that's the danger. That's the thing with algorithms. Because I spent so long yesterday associating with Leyton Orient related tweets. I don't know if it's QPR's official. I think it was QPR's official account. They retweeted the video of him scoring. And said, "Oh, our lone player." It's like, well, you didn't want to know that he existed all season. Like, he was, but I mean, there was fans saying he should have been recalled in January. But to be fair to him, I think he only had about 7 or 8 goals in January. He said it in his interview before the game. He said he got to January and realised he'd not scored as many as he wanted to, and thought, "Oh, best start scoring now." It's like it's that simple, apparently.
Because they've also got Jamie Donnelly, who's the one that's on loan from Spurs, and they have this kind of watertight deal that they can't recall players in January. And it may well be that they have the same with QPR, but Jamie Donnelly was the one that was banging the goals in. So Charlie Kelman kind of didn't need to. And Donnelly, as impressive as his stats have been this season, and he has been brilliant, I didn't even really notice him yesterday.
No. I think the opposition player that I know, Beckles at the back,
Beckles,
but I've always been impressed with him. And Kelman's movement was amongst the best that I've seen for a forward this season. But we kept him out of the game for the most part. I mean, an offside goal, a goal that shouldn't have been allowed, and a penalty. It's like if they're the chances you're restricting him to, then
Yeah.
half the job's done.
And, you know, we talked about what would happen when Fraser Horsfall came back, and would he come back as centre back? Would, you know, where would Brad Hills play? And Brad Hills did a great job on neutralising Charlie Kelman yesterday.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before, you know, he's not scared to challenge in the box. He knows kind of what he can get away with. The only thing about it, and I love it about him, is that he's so passionate, and you can see when he's like teetering on the edge, and like when he had his headbands taken off.
Well, will the inevitable 3-game ban for that come into effect before Wednesday? Because apparently that's how it's done now. You mess with someone's hair, then that's retrospective 3-game
Right,
ban.
come on. They're going through the tapes, and
we can wait for our apology letter. Do that later in the week. First thing Monday morning, get yourselves a coffee, say hello to a few people, and then deal with the hair incident first. That's
a really good point. Let's hope so.
Yeah, that's fair. On to non-match stuff. We had the awards evening thing on Friday. I mean, well done, Ethan Pye. Very good. Yes, all that. Yeah, fantastic. Well deserved all round. There was something glaringly missing that was promised in.
It was not fully as advertised, I would say, if I was being diplomatic.
No, I wanted my comedy sketches, Hannah.
I wanted comedy sketches.
Which means, you know what we're gonna have to do? We're going to have to do comedy sketches as the county players.
I could do a good Brad Hills. I think that we've nearly got the same hair, and I've got some of those headbands. So
right,
yeah,
you did Brad Hills.
do the contour for the incredible cheekbones, and
you're not far off. You can pass. You can pass. It's all right. I will. I don't know who I'll be. None of them. Shea Gardner. I want to be Shea Gardner.
Let's maybe. Maybe this is the same conversation that happened.
Yeah, just forget it.
In the media room last week. Like, what can we do that's really funny? You know, Dave, can you just stand there and say that you're going to tell us a bedtime story, and all women of Stockport will get excited? No, I'm not doing that again.
Again.
We've got a game.
It was quite it's quite well put together, I thought. Obviously having Steve Bellis in the strong early round FA Cup draw vibes from Steve Bellis in the Vita bar, like with all the people stood behind. Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Steve described it to me before it was recorded. I'm sure I don't think it's a secret that it wasn't actually live. Was that
I mean, if anyone thinks it was live, then they need the heads testing.
Anyway, they were going for like a TFI Friday vibe.
I think
yeah, I think it gave that.
Yeah, I love a bit of TFI. That's like peak telly. Well, we were talking about this in the group chat the other night. The 90s. Miss the 90s.
How old were you in the 90s?
Well, that's the thing. I was a child.
Yeah.
I was like, well, when you say how old was I in the 90s, like in 1990 I was 3, but in 1999 I was 12. So I was a range of ages in the 90s. Yeah. But no, if
I mean, it wasn't all that. I'm just
if they ever bring time travel in, I want to go back to the 90s, but I want to be I want to be able to drink in a pub for Euro 96. I want to be able to vote for Blair. I just and then I want to despair 5 years later when he becomes a war criminal. I want the whole gamut of emotion.
Oh God, it was so much fun. Yeah, bring it all back.
Brilliant.
As Rasheen said.
Very good.
Thanks.
That's my kind of 90s reference. Yes, very good. Oh, love that. Yeah, no, I think I'd be. The 90s were just brilliant all round, unless you were
especially if you were a Stockport County fan.
especially if you're
The
stuck in a
90s banged.
That brings us on to a nice talking point to close things off. How does this current period of success compare? Because I mean, it's widely accepted that the 90s was the best time ever to support County, but
Yeah.
is this close to the
So I was interviewed for Sky Sports the day that the Barrow game, so the first season back in the Football League, and Charlotte was mascot, and I was talking about when I started going in 92, 93, it was that kind of same rapid ascension that Charlotte was seeing as a County fan now. And it's very similar in terms of, you know, falling at the last hurdle, the playoff finals, the going up, the team, the team ethos, a strong manager. And that's what she's used to, in the same way that's what I was used to. And you know, the drop off kind of coincided with a time where I was going off to uni and things like that, but it just wasn't the same in the 2000s to kind of 2011, obviously. And I think it does compare. I think there will be kids now that are starting to go because of all the kind of hashtag paint it blue excitement. And you know, there were friends of Charlotte's friends' parents that were messaging me yesterday that don't normally watch County. They were all kind of sitting around watching it on the TV, and I think it's probably the same. Is it better or not? But it'll have the same kind of catalytic benefits to the club and the community, and you know, the players and the way that we attract players and things like that. I mean, we lost a lot, conversely, when we went up. You Andy Priest's and you Cameron Francis, like even Dave Jones in the end. So hopefully we won't see that. We've got the kind of financial power to keep them, and the progression is still active. It's not slowed. So I don't know whether better, but very, very similar, and will have the same kind of tangible benefits to the club, the town, and the fan base.
It's definitely different this time because the town is grabbing national. And I think that's the only thing missing football wise is us getting national attention like we did in 96, 97. That's the only thing missing here. But now the town is getting national attention. The town is on the up as well, and it feels different. It feels like it will be in years to come. This will be seen as the best time. I think we're not done yet. Martin Ellam's raised a nice point. I think this is better than the 90s because we came back from the dead of the National League North.
Come back.
And
Definitely.
it's that drum that I've been banging this drum on podcasts for like 10 years. It's that James lyric from Sit Down that if I hadn't seen such riches, I could live with being poor.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we've still not got that on the flag yet.
And do you know what? I think it is that riches and the difference in tiers now versus 96, 97. So, you know, I remember that Chesterfield game and getting promoted and it, you know, going to second tier, but it didn't, you know, it didn't have the same, I don't know, the tiers didn't seem as differentiated as they are now in terms of the scale, the financial power as you get further up the pyramid. So I think that's the difference as well. Like it was almost a kind of like, I don't have the words. It like between the tiers, there wasn't really that much difference.
Yeah.
And now it is mega. And the thought of us being Matt, the Wrexham fan. Oh no, it wasn't even Matt. It was another Wrexham fan. Oh my God, I'm friends with them now.
You're one of them.
I know. But he was saying to me, like, he just can't get over the idea of them being a champion team. It's, and you know, it was Division 1, Division 2. It was, so I think even just the names of them, the nomenclature makes a difference, because we've never been, it was Division 2. Do you see what I mean? Like, we've never been kind of above Division 2, which obviously is the Championship, but it feels different because it's the Championship.
Because I think it became the Championship the season after we'd dropped down.
Yeah.
And last time we got to the Championship, the Premier League was only 5 years old. It hadn't become this
No,
huge,
it wasn't
enormous global thing. It was big,
Yeah.
but it wasn't what
Yeah.
it is now. So to have clubs coming down from there, you know,
Yeah.
it's entirely possible we'll be playing Southampton next season, who've just
Crazy.
drawn with one of the best teams in the world yesterday,
Yeah.
and we could be playing them in just like 3 or 4 months' time, quite possibly. Speaking of Southampton, I have a feeling that they are on the lookout for a manager in the summer. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one where Dave Challoner, because he doesn't get mentioned. It's not a case of wanting him to be taken away from us, because it's going to happen, and he'll deserve it. But it's the fact he's never mentioned. I've seen him being mentioned in relation to the West Brom job over last week, but that's only because Don Goodman said it on Sky Sports.
Right. The Times did an article on him this week. It's behind a paywall, but if anyone's desperate to read it, then I can screenshot it.
Keep it behind there.
Was that he, is Dave Challoner the most underrated manager in English football?
Quite possibly, yeah.
And it was talking about like 14 promotions over the period of his career, a bit about his background. It was interesting, but it was, it's articles like that get, I've said this to you before, at a very, very different level. At lower league look, we've been able to get managers in for interviews when they hadn't previously been considered, just by kind of stirring the pot a little bit. It's not being big-headed. It 100% happened. We know it happened, and we know why it happened, and that's what it needs. Or not needs. If you look at it the other way, we don't need the Times writing lovely articles about Dave Challoner and how great he is. But
it's the fact it's the Times as well, because if there's one paper I can imagine football club owners and directors of football reading, it's the Times.
And that's all that happens. Someone reads it and be like, they message their CEO like, oh, can we get this bloke in? Let's just have a chat with him. It might not go anywhere, but let's just have a chat with him.
Can we take a second to contemplate the delicious irony? If it were to happen, it almost makes it sound like in fact, I do want it to happen, because I want him to replace Steve Rusk again.
Yeah, but we'll have Rooney in by August, so, be careful what we wish for. Or cold one.
Well, when it does come to the next county manager, Richie Wellens, I would be delighted with that.
Richie Wellens' domestic situation has changed. So he used to live in Marple, and was kind of commuting down to Orient, which was a really kind of
crazy
thing. But he was I used to do it, not to Orient, but obviously
in your spell as manager.
But he's
didn't give you the backing you wanted.
Yeah, he has moved now, and only moved at the beginning of this season, I think. So that's changed. That said, people can move houses again. He's always been up in the north ever since. Obviously played at United, and they've got new owners. So it's not to say that it wouldn't. Do you know what? I still love a bit of Pete Wild, but I think that gap is growing.
That's the thing. The gap now. It's I think we've got to the point. Talking of managerial changes, Andy Priest was being strongly linked with Fylde. Apparently, he was at their final game of the season last weekend.
Do you know what? In my recent trips to Salford, it's like a who's who of lower league football managers. Like Nigel Clough's there, like Grant McCann, Pete Wild, like Adam Templeton. So yeah, it's just sensible. It's just keeping an eye out. And Temps at Fleetwood now, he's like, he just likes to go and watch football. If they're not playing, he'll go and watch someone else, and they might be looking at players, they might be just looking at how another manager manages. Could also be, there speculatively. But
do you think we've reached the point now where no matter how we get on in these playoffs, if we get knocked out Wednesday night, if we lose or win at Wembley, I think we've reached the point now where he is going to start getting seriously linked with bigger jobs. I think we've reached that point now.
I think it will be like a lot of the players, his future and fortunes depend on which league we're in next season. And he will always attract attention, just because you suddenly in the playoffs become much higher profile, as we saw with the Specsavers shenanigans yesterday. I do think though that Mark Stott talks very much about the journey, and since we came up, there's been very much like he's never been a League One manager before. Well, he's absolutely smashed it. So what's to say that he couldn't smash it as a Championship manager? And then he's looking at the Premier League as opposed to Southampton, who need to stage a massive turnaround. But it's going to, it's a challenge, because they're going to have an exodus of players in the summer, because they'll have relegation break clauses and all sorts. So I think, ultimately his kids are getting older. He always wanted to stay around the Northwest because his family was here. And so I think that will play a large part. But ultimately, like I've been saying with playoffs and promotion, now you take your opportunities. But I do think he's very pragmatic and very strategic on the pitch, but strategic kind of with his professional decisions as well. So there will be a lot of consideration that goes into it, because what he's achieved with us is phenomenal. And he can, but it hasn't stopped, is my point. He can keep achieving and keep overachieving.
Which takes us back to 96, 97 again. I mean, Dave Jones has said since that. I think you were at the thing at Basque, weren't you, where he said he's confident we'd have gone up if he'd stayed. And then he went to Southampton, and then obviously the stuff happened in his private life, went to court and everything, and Southampton sacked him despite it all getting thrown out, him getting found not guilty, getting thrown out of court, saying it should have never made it. And it still blows. Southampton sacked him, and he sued him for unfair dismissal, and he lost, which blows my mind there. But I just wonder if it's a very similar situation here with Dave Challinor. It's like if we do go up, would it not be tempting to stick around and see where he can take us in the Championship?
I think given Stott's kind of passion for the club and his ambitions, I think I'd stay.
Yeah, I think even taking away the attachment to county from it, because I think if we were to go up, the jobs he'd be getting offered would be middle to top end Championship clubs. But if he was to have a good season in the Championship, or even a good half season in the Championship, then you're looking at Premier League teams coming in.
Yeah, and then think about at United, for example, some of the personalities that you're dealing with. And the refusing to play. Like, can you imagine? Talk about the hairdryer treatment with Fergie. I can imagine that's what Charlie can be like occasionally in the dressing room. And I don't know whether he's a bit too kind of spit and sawdust for the Premier League. I can't imagine it at all.
Well, he's not bald with the goatee either, so that's going to rule him out of most of the shortlists. because that's what everyone seems to go for nowadays. Embarrassing.
Yeah. It'll be, well, let the speculation begin.
Yeah.
But
I mean, no
either
matter
way,
what happens in the next week or two, I think we're in store for possibly the most interesting summer we've had in a very long time. It's
yeah.
going to be but in terms of personnel as well. I mean, we'll probably do an episode after the dust has settled on the playoffs. We'll do an episode on the out of contract players and go through that, because it's going to be.
That sounds serious.
It's going to be very interesting. I mean, we'll have a laugh. Don't worry. Well, that's where we'll bring the comedy sketches in. I'll be calling counts asking for a new contract with a hilarious sketch based around it. Yeah. So there's loads to both on and off the pitch this summer. There's an awful lot. It's going to be. I'm really excited for it, no matter what.
Yeah, and it will be
happens.
quicker. Like last season, we were already on the trophy tour now. It felt like a really, really long off season to July, whereas we've still got at least another week. It will go quicker, I think.
I think the only thing that kept me going last year was the fact that we had this in that we'd planned this.
Yeah, we were getting excited about.
So we had like, I think after we'd made the decision, we had like 2 or 3 months before we started, because we agreed to start like the week that the fixtures came out. So it was just that there was stuff to do, but yeah, quicker turnaround is nice. I don't like it, especially when there's no tournament in the summer either.
No. Yeah.
Oh, good. That was a good. I thought that was a good hour and 17.
Yeah. When you
famous
said
last
to me
words.
last night, we won't do over an hour, when I was saying that I needed to potentially check out at 12. It'll be less than an hour, which is a good job because I'm still in my pajamas, so it'd be awkward to rock down to reception at this point.
Can't go checking out in your pajamas. Well, you can, but probably just the one.
Yeah, I mean it's shorts and t-shirts. So I probably would get away with it, but
it is shorts and t-shirt weather. To be fair, it's bloody
Yeah.
hot.
yeah.
Oh, right. We will wrap up there. We will be back this week after the Orient second leg. We've not decided when yet, but I don't think we'll wait until Monday, the following Monday. Put it that way.
No, let's see. Let's do a Hannah and Marshall from yesterday, and let's see what our mood's like after the game.
Play it by ear, but we
might be live from Castle Street at 10 o'clock on Wednesday night.
On the roof. No, Dan Malt, they're not my pajamas, but we had this discussion prior to the show starting. No, thank you very much. Not be wearing this again. Right, all that remains to do now, I think, is to say goodbye to everyone. Don't forget to like the video and follow us in all the places. You can find it in the episode description.
Yeah.
Say ta-ra, Hannah.
Goodbye from Wembley.
Goodbye from Cheadle SK8. SK8 TV.
Fancy.
It's not. People always say that. I used to always get that when people say, "Oh, whereabouts in Stockport are you from?" I'd say Cheadle. You go, "Ooh." It's like, well, no, because there's Cheadle Heath, and then there's Cheadle where I am, which elevates slightly. Then there's Cheadle Hume. Like, ooh. But they don't let me in Cheadle Hume. I'm not. No. I mean, I probably belong in Cheadle Heath, to be honest. That's where I belong with the scum. Only joking. Fine. Right. Let's go. We'll be back this week. Keep an eye on the socials and you'll find out when. Bye, everybody.
Bye.